Welcome back. It is now time to meet the elites as part of our Meet the Experts event. I am joined by Charlotte Purdue, 2019 British champion at the Virgin Money London Marathon, and dialing in, we believe from up north, because I asked Charlotte where you live, Jonny, but it's Jonny Mellor, who is a 2020 British champion of the Virgin Money London Marathon. Jonny, if I got it right, whereabouts are you dialing in from?
Yeah, just south of Manchester, so up north,
Up
sunny
north.
Manchester.
So much as. And I'm going to say that this is where we get really professional and talk about all the elite stuff. But Charlotte and I, just off camera, because we're both 5'1", we're talking about the size of our feet. Because Charlotte, 5'1", but quite big feet.
Yeah, well, 4.5.
But thank you to you both, Jonny for dialing in, Charlotte for being in the studio. This is your opportunity, everyone that's watching from wherever you're watching, to ask an elite marathon runner your questions. So we'll have a chat, and as we have done throughout the day, your questions will come in and I'll ask them on your behalf. Make sure you put your name to those questions as well. But this is a great opportunity. How often do we get this opportunity? And I will start with that opportunity. So Charlotte, Let's talk about, you've run so many marathons, but let's go back to your first one, because so many people that are watching will be turning up October the 3rd to run their first 26.2 miles. Can you remember your first marathon? What was it like?
Yeah, so my first was in 2016, actually at London Marathon. And I'd say the training was more scary for me than the race, because my coach sent me my training program in advance, and it was like the whole 10-week plan. And I just remember looking at it and being like, whoa, there's a lot of running on here. But when I got to the race, I was really excited to actually do it, because I've been thinking about it for 10, 12 weeks before. And I knew I'd done all the training. So the actual race was the fun part, really. So I really enjoyed it. Don't have any regrets or anything. It was really fun.
It's amazing, really, when we go on to your achievements and being the fourth fastest British female runner of all time, that 2016, it's quite a late start to that distance.
Yeah.
They're having those accolades already.
Yeah, I was 24, I think, when I did that. So, I mean, I was quite young for like elite marathon running. Some people tend to move up later, but for me, I was just like, when can I run a marathon? I really wanted to do it. So yeah, it was a good day.
Jonny, are you the same as Charlotte when it comes to race day? That's excitement, is the plan that you dread. What was your feelings?
Yeah, I think because you train so hard for so long before the marathon, when the race day or taper finally comes around, you're looking forward to it. So yeah, definitely the build up can seem a little bit intimidating at times, but once you get through the work and you get to taper, yeah, you start looking forward to race day then.
So what would you offer as advice to people that are watching then to make it less intimidating?
I'd probably break it down. Whether you break your training down into blocks, with set, hard training followed by an easier week, and I just find it that way it's a little bit more manageable. Same with race day. Break it down into process goals. And maybe you can break your training up with a half marathon along the way, which then makes the marathon doesn't seem quite as far then, things like that. So, yeah, I think probably don't take each week as it comes and break the training down a little bit.
And same with you, Charlotte, when you saw that training plan from your coach and just thought there's a lot of running on there, how, again, did you get through all of that as people now start 16 weeks of training?
Yeah, so my coach doesn't do that anymore, because I think there was a couple of times, like Jonny said, where I needed an easier week, but because on the plan there wasn't an easier week on there at the time I needed it, I was kind of like, I need to do this training on this week. But now my coach gives it to me a little bit more like week on week, so that I can schedule in like a race, or if I need to have an easier week, I have an easier week. So my advice is to be a bit more flexible in your training. Don't be so rigid as in like you have to do this because someone's written a plan. I think listening to your body is important, and yeah, what you need to do.
Yeah, and there's an amazing relationship between you and a coach, right? Who knows how to work with you physically but also mentally, because that is a huge part of people taking on the London Marathon, the mental mindset that needs to be fine-tuned.
Yeah.
So what would you offer people of how they get their head working with their body?
I'd say the training does help with that, because once you've done a block of training specifically for the event, you get your head around it a bit better. Before I started my first blocker marathon training, I didn't know if I could run for over 2 hours even, because I hadn't done it before. But once I'd done that in training, I think mentally I was more prepared for the race. So I think as long as you do have a training plan, which is as far as advanced as maybe like 12, 16 weeks, so you can do it structurally and gradually so you don't get injured, I think, yeah, then that will help mentally as well, prepare you for the race.
And how did you know, you say that you were chomping at the bit to go to the marathon distance? How did you know that that 26.2 miles was your distance?
So I did the London mini marathon a couple of times, and I just always wanted to run the main London marathon. And yeah, I was always better at longer distances. I'm really not very good at sprinting or like anything shorter than like 1K. So anything, yeah, long distance I always wanted to do as a kid. And so yeah, just naturally wanted to do the London marathon as well. Yeah.
Jonny, let's head back to you, to south of Manchester. So what makes the London Marathon so special, would you say?
I think definitely the crowds, that's definitely part of it. But I think also the course. You know, you go past so many famous landmarks, and there's so many different points of the course when you run in. You know, when you go past Cutty Sark and then over the bridge, and you know, there's just so many different bits of the course that you maybe don't appreciate when you're racing it, but it's afterwards you think, oh God, that was amazing. But the crowds definitely are, massive help along the way.
I was about to say, when you're going at the speeds that you're going in Charlotte too, can you take in the sights that you're going past, and can you take in that spectator support?
Definitely in the first half. I'm not sure about the second half of the marathon, to be honest, but yeah, maybe in the first half you do, I think, and the second half it's just you kind of just get to the finish, and yeah, maybe not quite so much then.
What would you say, Charlotte? Can you take in these amazing sort of landmarks that you're going past, or are you so in your head?
Yeah, for me, I just look at the blue line on the road.
Do you?
Yeah, honestly, but with the crowd, you can definitely hear the support. My mum always says to me, "Did you hear me?" And I'm like, "No, mum, I didn't hear you." But
where does she go?
She always goes like Tower Bridge area, so she always asks every time if I heard her, but I never hear her. But you do hear the crowd. They're a massive, massive help, especially like Jonny said in the second half. But for me, I always look at the floor when I run, so I don't honestly take in that many sights.
Yeah. And then for those who that are running the Virgin Money London Marathon, the mass event, the blue line that Charlotte is talking to, gives you the exact route. So that's the one to stay if you're really gunning for a PB. And what would you say, Charlotte, for those that are going out to run to time, how do you balance taking in the atmosphere of London Marathon with, I want this one to be the one that I get a PB?
Yeah, I think I like to run even splits, as even as I can, because then you just focus on, ticking off each mile at the same kind of time. And then if you have anything left, trying to finish a little bit faster at the end. So I think if you have a race plan before the race, and you know what you got to do, then, you can also take in a bit of the sights as well, because in the back of your mind you're following your own race plan, but obviously you've got to enjoy the race as well as going for your time. But yeah, just try and give it everything the last 10K.
Yeah. Jonny, let's go to you and your plan. How mentally, physically, once you've got the mileage in the legs, how do you mentally, especially that last half, as you say, but the last 6 miles in particular, what is your plan for that?
I think beforehand I've kind of prepared myself that it's going to hurt. And I think if you kind of go into it with that mentality, that mindset, you're kind of ready for it a little bit more, and you kind of embrace it when it comes. Because, even if you're Eliud Kipchoge, that last 10K is going to hurt in the marathon. It's tough. So it's kind of, I prepare myself mentally for that. I think that definitely helps. But also remind yourself of the training you've done, and any key sessions where you've maybe struggled or found them tough, but you've got through them in training. And I think that's always good to remember on race day as well.
And what's your sort of routine on the week before and then the morning of?
Yeah, so I will obviously start tapering. So the last week, it's just all about freshening the legs up, getting ready to run fast. And I guess recovering almost from the training that you put in. So we don't do anything different. We don't do anything silly. I've actually done the same last 2 weeks for my last 3 or 4 marathons now, because it works for me. So we keep it all very same. I'll do like a last sort of workout on the Tuesday. Normally maybe a couple of miles at marathon pace and some 400s a little bit faster. And then normally for a marathon you travel a day, 2 days before, and it's just getting into the hotel and getting into the race mindset then.
That's quite interesting. That's such a sort of sportsman and sportsman woman sort of mentality. When you find something that works for you, you keep it, and it becomes your ritual, your superstition, your routine. Do you have any of those, Charlotte?
Yeah, I do, but I tried to kind of get away from them a little bit with the like traveling and stuff. So when I've done races abroad, obviously you can't be so picky about what you're eating the night before or in the morning before. So I try to be a little bit flexible as I can. But yeah, with the taper, I keep it exactly the same pretty much for the last 2 weeks now, because I know that it works before. So why would I change it?
So what do you do? What do you do in those 2 weeks?
Yeah, so 2 weeks before I do my last like big session, and then pretty much after that I just try to slow down the runs a little bit, make them easier, try to keep off hills, obviously eat a bit more carbs, try not to get injured, try not to get ill. Yeah, just little things that I know that work for me really, to try and get to the race in the best possible shape.
And what's the morning of routine?
The morning of routine, well, it's usually pretty early because the race usually starts about 9 for us. So up early, coffee, yeah, just get ready really, eat some food, and then try to stay relaxed, do a bit of a warm up, and then get on the start line. I think like you can overthink the morning definitely, because most of the preparation has already been done. The morning of the race is just getting to the start line. So as long as I'm on the start line, then that's it really.
And you're so smiley. It's such an infectious energy. Do you have to, not, I don't want to say curb your lovely enthusiasm, but do you have to emotionally go, right, now I'm in race mindset?
No.
Are you still having a bit of a joke?
Honestly, I think I just enjoy the race. Like the training, obviously I'm really serious about the training. Once the training's done and I've got through it uninjured, unill, I feel like I'm just way more relaxed and I can get to the start line and enjoy every single step, because the hard work is done. Obviously it is going to hurt on race day, but that's what I enjoy. So yeah, I love racing.
I love hearing how people deal with it was pressure, but deal with pressure in a different way. And for you, it's to keep that smile and that relaxation going. Jonny, what are you like on race day?
Yeah, I'm probably not as smart as Charlotte, that's for sure. But you've worked hard for it, and if you've done the work, you should be confident going into the marathon. So it's kind of like you can just process and focus on that, and then the outcome will take care of itself. So yeah, enjoy it because you've worked hard for it.
Yeah, exactly that. Right, let's get on to questions to you both. So, Trisha, I can ask you both this. How often do you take on fuel during the marathon, and any advice for people that are running this for the first time around that?
Yeah, so in the elite race, we get like special drink stations every 5K. So I try to have like a drink every 5K, and then I try to take on some more like carbohydrate type of fuel every 10K. So starting with the first 10K and then every 10K in after that.
What would you, Jonny, offer to those that are needing to take on fuel? What's the best method for that?
I think first try it in training. Get a strategy in place early. So you practice already starting now on your long runs. Experimenting with different gels and drinks, whatever you're going to take on race day, so you find what works for you. And then in training now, start practicing maybe if it's every 20 minutes even, or even longer. And then once you're more used to it, you can do it more frequently. But yeah, I'm the same as Charlotte. I'm every 5K in the marathon, I take some kind of carbohydrate on, and I think it's important to try it in training first.
Absolutely. Lucy, I'm going to ask this on behalf of both of us because we are both petite. But Lucy says, I'm also quite short, and I wonder if you found it a disadvantage in your running. Absolutely not fourth fastest, third fastest when it actually happened. It's not a disadvantage to you, is it?
Honestly, I never really think about it. It doesn't affect me at all in the slightest. Yeah, no, like I said to you before, a lot of the African runners are actually quite short as well. Obviously, Paula Radcliffe is quite tall, so I think it varies how tall or short you are, but I haven't found it a disadvantage.
I love that. You've got the personality of an 8-foot warrior. Okay, let's. I know that the elite field hasn't been announced yet, but there is a question of, and I'll go to you, Jonny, for this. What do you think of the British marathon running field at the moment? Some of the big names out there.
Yeah, I think it's like, if anyone's been watching the trials over Manchester this weekend, it's British running's, flying at the moment. Some fantastic runners at, some fantastic times being recorded. Shoes aside, it's still the standard in the bar's been raised. And I think everyone then has to raise the standards and push that bit harder in training as well to match it.
Yeah. This is an interesting question, and because it's affected everyone in different ways, but how has the pandemic affected your training, and how have you managed to keep running up within COVID regulations?
Yeah, so for me, my group is based in Australia, so I usually go over there for like 3 or 4 months of every year. So it's affected me in the fact that I couldn't go there, and I haven't been able to train with my group as much. So I've done a lot more training solo, which has obviously been challenging, being away from my coach and my group. That's probably been the main thing for me, to be honest.
Jonny, what has your experience been like running and keeping up that during these COVID restricted times?
Yeah, I'm quite lucky. Obviously, my group is based here, so I've still been able to train with training partners and stuff. I think last year was a challenge. We maybe didn't have physio and massage, which you'd normally have. But other than that, I think, quite privileged and in a fortunate position that training can continue as best as possible at the moment.
So let's get some advice then for those that are watching. If training isn't going as expected, Charlotte, what would you say to those people?
I'd say if training's not going as expected, it can change just like that. You can have a bad week or a bad session, but then the next week you can have a great week and a great session. So I think just keep at it really, and consistency is the key. So even if you're having a bad week or a bad session, you're still out there running, and that's still making you better. Yeah. So I'd say just ride the wave, and hopefully next week you'll have a good one.
Yeah, no, completely. And Jonny, I'm literally flip-flopping between the two of you at the moment. Away from our very own Virgin Money London Marathon, away from you, what are your favourite sort of moments either during this race or other marathons that you've experienced?
Obviously, I think running my PB in Seville Marathon early last year was a highlight for me. And then in a weird way, I really enjoyed the elite only race last year. Obviously it wasn't the same without the crowds, but I quite enjoyed the lapped course, the monotony of it. So I think it was quite, it's a good experience, very unique. I wouldn't want to do it every year, but I really enjoyed that, and obviously finishing his first Brit on the day.
On that note, because there's 50,000 runners around the world that are covering the marathon distance on October the 3rd, but from their own routes where they haven't got spectators around to cheer them on. So why did that work for you, and what advice would you give people that are running virtually?
I think because it allowed you to kind of dial into a pace, you get into a good rhythm. You could keep an eye on your splits every lap, and you knew where you were at every point in the marathon. You didn't have to contend with, I don't know, if you turn into a different straight and there might be a headwind or something like that. So for me, I quite enjoyed that, and you literally all I was doing was focusing on running as easy as possible, I guess, during the early stage of the marathon. So yeah, I think if you're doing it virtually, a looped course is a good option. Downhill would be even better, I suppose. But yeah, looped courses are good because you can also have support then for people cheering you on, or getting drinks as well off someone on a bike, or just running alongside you.
She had that from another panelist today that said actually a loop system could be really helpful in that focus, that that you can clock certain posts to help you get around it. What would you offer to those that are running virtually as well, Charlotte, and how they can make that day really special?
Yeah, definitely plan the route that you're going to do, and have some support for drinks and stuff like that. I think if you've got a good plan, also get out early in the morning. You don't want to be running around the park and it be really busy with people as well. But at the same time, having some support would be would be good. So yeah, just try and mix it up, but have a good plan going into the day. So as if it was a normal race day.
Yeah. Okay. Last question to you both, and same one. Your biggest tip for anyone taking on the marathon this year?
I'd say have a training plan and start early as early as you can, really.
Charlotte, thank you so much. Jonny, what would you say?
Don't be afraid to recover and take rest days during your build up, because that's how you're going to adapt and grow and allow you to get to the start line healthy and in one piece.
Jonny in Manchester and Charlotte here in the studio, thank you both so much. An absolute treat. We are going to take a short break. When we come back, we will have running coach Martin Yelling, and he'll be talking you through all the 16 weeks of training that lies ahead for you. Join us then.